To know how to protect yourself and your loved ones from potential flooding hazards. Joining me in studio is Peter Murgo, Disaster Risk Reduction Manager, Kenya Red Cross, and tonight he'll share invaluable insights on protecting ourselves and our communities. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Lillian.
So the flooding situation, pretty serious, Peter. Can you provide an overview of how serious the situation is as regards emergency situations across the country from what you've observed as the Red Cross?
It's as serious as in the span of 2 weeks, us having realized 210 lives lost, several thousands of families displaced, and you can see even the impact that schools now are being suspended indefinitely because of the impacts of flooding. The magnitude is such that the intensity is not like witnessed before. You can start seeing the river banks, the water reservoirs and water holding areas all overflowing to full capacity. For the first time in historical moments, the dams, almost all the 5, 6 of them are towards full holding capacity. Mudslides, landslides, and all the kind of things you can think about. The Lake Victoria being full and backflows and seepages being ready to be experienced. Those downstream of the Nzoia, Athi, Tana River basins. And then now with the tropical cyclone Hidaya, you can see the coastal belt, likelihood of strong winds.
Yeah. So, I mean, and you know, the Met Department has periodically told us that this is expected. So in terms of proactive measures that communities and individuals can take ahead of these situations, walk us through some of those.
Yeah, from a risk reduction perspective, the first thing that we need to know is everyone needs to be aware of their environment. First of all, be alert, be attentive, listen to the radio, listen to the televisions, listen to the forecasts, be aware of your environment. That's the first starting place. The second thing is have an evacuation plan. Once you get aware of your environment, the key questions to ask yourself, what are the risk factors? Right now we can see, are you prone to a place whereby the waters could likely come and pass? Are you experiencing water levels rising in your house, for example? So you might take it lightly and say, you know, I was watching something where people are saying it's just the floor level. But the question is there loose electricity, for example? So can you be electrocuted in that setting? So be aware about your environment, have an evacuation plan, know the number of people you are in. And once you start seeing the signs, please, flooding is a sudden onset. Does not give you a lot of time to act. You should be ready to move.
But then we have a situation, for instance, like in Muranga, where there was a mudslide. This, of course, not something that perhaps anybody, expected. This is in the dead of the night. People are asleep, and the mud just comes and collapses over their homes.
So those are now the unforeseen. Those are the things now that is beyond human control, beyond human capacity to fathom or even to comprehend. Those are now the unforeseens, Lillian, that we might say it's a tragedy that could not be avoided. But most cases, what I would say is the good thing is that when the rains come and there are early warnings and the advisories that are given by the Kenya Meteorological Department, for example, there is good room for people to act. There are those few exceptional cases where there might be very little someone can do. But that's what we cannot do. So the idea is to mitigate as much as possible.
Right. So, so outline the steps to follow in the event of a flood warning or evacuation order. The simple thing is cooperate.
Don't start arguing with it. For example, if you're living around riparian lands, if you're living around waterways, if you're living areas around where there is loose soil, or you're at a low-lying area and there has been a warning of the likelihood and the risk of floods, please just move. The first thing to do is move, then reason later. Because, like I said again, flood is sudden onset. It may not give you a lot of time.
There are also people who, might be driving home, like I had mentioned before the break, and might come across a flooding situation on the roads. That's been happening a lot across major roads in the country. The water sometimes might not look like, it could cause any harm, but we know that there's vehicles that have been swept away, persons that have been swept away, even as they try to cross highways and roads. So in such a situation, what would you advise be the best way to approach that?
So the interesting thing about flooding is you may not know the depth So there are a number of issues: the depth, the topography, the velocity of the water, and also the terrain within which you are. Is it earth, or is it the tarmac roads, for example? And if it's tarmac road, is there a drainage system that is draining this water? What is the velocity of the water? How are you feeling the traction as you're steering your wheel? The main thing is really to be very alert. If you have a sense that you're feeling your traction, you're not getting control, that's a danger sign. Yeah. So you just need to veer off and try to get to safety. At times, it's even good to leave your vehicle and just try and move towards elevated areas. You know, because the main thing is to just safeguard yourself. Yeah. If the vehicle is moved and you're still inside, it becomes more risky. Yeah. So, and
let's walk through specific precautions for vulnerable groups. You know, we're talking about children, the elderly, and persons living with disabilities as well, who have raised concern about, you know, evacuation measures. They cannot swim, depending on you know, what situation they find themselves in. They cannot swim. Some cannot see. So you find that these vulnerable groups are specifically sensitive during these periods. Yeah,
they're specifically sensitive and seriously exposed. So that becomes very delicate, and that's why I brought in the issue of being aware of your environment. Yeah. And you see, as each other's keeper, as neighbors, as people who we stay with each other, if you know that you are limited with mobility and you're at risk, it's just good to communicate. What are your support systems, for example? Do you have aides? Do you have neighbors who know how you are? So the first thing would be, these are the people who need to be moved even for safety. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, pending such scenarios, the best thing is that they need to be moved the soonest possible, not even to wait for such incidences. Right. Do you have relatives? Do you have people, alternative places that you can go to? And I know sometimes there's the argument about, where do I go to? I would not want to deal with that because that becomes sensitive. But the main idea is, what support systems do you have? If you're living with a special condition, if you're a person who has certain limitations with mobility, the main thing is, I am very sure you have people who support you. Yeah. These people need to now make I talked about an evacuation plan. That is part of the evacuation plan. Right. For you to say that, I know I may not be able to move very fast, I'm a bit slow, I'm a bit elderly, I cannot move very quick, then I need to be able to be moved very fast.
So how can households, as we close, create effective emergency kits, you know, in the event of such an emergency, to ensure their safety during these flooding situations? Just a simple, basic emergency kit to ensure that, aside from you getting to safer ground, getting to safety, that you're okay. Yes. Until help comes.
Until help comes. We advise, there's what we call in disaster management, we call grab bags. People will take it to be a very technical emergency response kit, but a grab bag means the simple basic things you need to carry you for a number of days. For example, 2 pairs of change of clothes. And it's a family setup. You can just tell everyone, keep a light bag with yourselves. If we need to move, just grab it. That's the whole idea of grab bag. Grab it and let's move. Tubers, you know, sometimes some things look very basic, yeah? But if you have tubers, and the good thing with these tubes, if you are moving and it can keep you afloat, for example.
This is the tube inside the tire,
yes, inflated. Okay. And if you watched one of the clips, one of our teams, as they were rescuing people, they had thrown a rope and it was tied around a tube and they were dragging the people to come. So some of these basic things that you can quickly get your family or people to safety as you're going to higher ground, with a grab bag and just some biting, some dry cereals. I'm sure you've kept money somewhere for safety that you can easily withdraw, or is it in your phone or M-Pesa, or even in your account, that you can basically, if once you're in safety, you can actually withdraw and you're able to support your families.
But staying safe is key. So as we close, a few words to our viewers as regards staying safe during this season.
Staying safe starts with you and me. Staying safe means being aware about your environment. Staying safe means utilizing the information that is very much available. And the media house is doing a very good job making sure people are informed. Today, as I was watching the news before coming here, even political leaders, our administrative leaders, our structures are beginning to tell us, let us take action. So let us be alert. Let us heed warnings that are coming. Like right now, there's very good information. Let us take this information and act in good time. Don't wait until it is too late.
Peter Morgor is the Disaster Risk Reduction Manager at the Kenya Red Cross. Many thanks for your time, and stay safe wherever you're watching us from. We're taking a break. We're back with all the day's business in just a bit.